Hey, good morning. It's your boy Robert Phoenix, broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas. What's happening, everybody? It is Wednesday, 311. Remember that band 311? They were kind of okay. I saw them one time at the Voodoo Fest in New Orleans. They're actually pretty good. Not a bad band, actually. All right. Well, here we are. It's another day in the great big neighborhood. We're going to kind of hang out here for a little bit and wait for the forces to coalesce and the virtual hall to fill up and people can assemble. I apologize for being a bit late today. Usually I'm around 8:45. Today it's about 15 minutes later than usual because I was having a kind of a challenging time getting going this morning. Let's see. There's Lisa Marie. Hello, Lisa Marie. What's going on? I'm seeing you later today. There's Colleen. Hello, Colleen. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. A lot to talk about. Obviously, I have some thoughts as the coronavirus landscape is beginning to reveal itself. It's just taken a little bit of time, and I think now we're seeing what's happening. Got a pretty clear picture now. It was evolving yesterday, and by about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it was pretty well cemented as to what's going on now. Let's see who else we have in chat. There's Sandra. Hey, good, nice to see you, cuz. Hope the captain's doing okay. There's Kestrel and Judy. Hi, Judy. There's my man Steve. Steve and I were meeting yesterday, and we got some really great guests lined up for you for the Friday forecast. And we have one confirmed guest that Steve has reached out and booked, and that's Stefan Verstappen. He'll be on the Friday forecast on the 27th. On the 27th of uh, March. How about that? If you don't know who Stefan is, he's pretty interesting. He kind of really vibes with our tribe and what we've been talking about for a while. I heard Stefan for the first time, I'd say probably about 6 months ago in Jeff Rent's, maybe a little bit before that, maybe I don't know, maybe 8 months ago. And I'm like, I like this guy. I like this guy. And Jeff even let him talk, which means something. So some of the things that you may want to do, since Steve is in the chat room, if there are people that you'd like me to interview, you may want to put a few names in there. Just type them in, get them on Steve's radar, and we'll endeavor to do that to try to get as many interesting people on the show as possible. This Friday, I'll have Alex Kazemi, the author of Pop Magic. It's an appropriate day to have Alex on since it is an occult day, the 13th of March, which is a Friday, 2 days before the Ides of March, which is a Sunday. So it should be a very interesting conversation. And Alex has just come off a very successful interview with George Norrie on Coast to Coast. And Alex has been a client. I've done readings for Alex. So we've got a pretty rapport, and he's got some good insights into the occult and esoteric aspects of the millennial culture. So I'm really looking forward to that with him. Let's see who else is in chat. There's Diana. Let's see who else do we have. There's the Crimmies. What's happening, Crimmies? Sharon Q. Hi, Darcy. The infamous Darcy. There's my man Steven. What's up, Steven? Good to see you. Beth Cummings. Hi, Beth. Energetic Trail. I made it. Happy new day. Hey, Energetic Trail. It's better than being is it Energetic Trail or Troll? Let me zoom in there. Trail. It's better than being an energetic troll. Although that's not a bad thing to be an energetic troll. If you're going to be a troll, be an energetic troll. That's my theory. That's my opinion. Be energetic. Went to I went to HEB yesterday to do a little shopping, just to kind of do some shopping stuff. And what did I find? Oh, yeah, hold on. It's on my phone. Let me show you. Let me show you what was going on with the HEB yesterday. I'll show you. I'm just gonna put this right up to the camera. This was HEB yesterday. That's the toilet paper section. That's it. That's not Costco. That's not Target. That's HEB right there. They're out of toilet paper. What's really interesting about the whole toilet paper thing is that HEB people are buying paper towels to wipe their ass. Like, okay, all right, go buy some paper towels, wipe your ass because there's no toilet paper. All you got to do is go about about a mile and a half away, and go to the natural grocery store where they're full of toilet paper. Like, people, if you want toilet paper, there's another store in town, and they got plenty of it. It's actually pretty cheap, and it speaks to kind of speaks to the mindset. And I walked in there, and I was getting something else. I was getting some eggs. They have really good eggs there. Anyway, I was getting some eggs, and I said, and I was on that aisle. I'm just marveling at all the toilet paper that's there, and a lot of it like organic toilet paper or recycled toilet paper. So if you have any um, standards or criterion for your toilet paper that meet a certain level or standard, it's there, right? So I said to the woman who was walking down the aisle who worked at that store, I said, "This is amazing. Look at all the toilet paper you have. HEB has none." And I said, "People are buying." I said this. I said, "People are buying paper towels to wipe their butts." I said, oh yeah, we have plenty, and we're getting more." So now that's a really kind of interesting mindset if you think about it. How people will just kind of herd along without getting outside of their little herd lane to maybe explore other options. Oh, really? Am I surprised? And the answer is no. All right, let's see who else we have in chat. Uh, but no hand sanitizer anywhere. Can make some if need be. Yes. There's Joe. Hi, Joe. Nice to see you. There's Kathy from Vegas. What's going on, Kathy? Don't tell them that, Robert. That's where I go. Don't worry, Donna. I'm not going to go run down. Hey, Natasha. Natural Grocers is great. As of yesterday, local Publix grocery store had at least 80% full racks of TP. Actually, I checked out the Walmart nearby. Same things. Saw no mask yet in Pensacola either. Kurt says, an emergency situation toilet paper would be a luxury item. You got that right. Welcome, Kurt. Nice to see you. Ralph's here. Beth says Ralph's here in El Segundo now is limiting the amount of water, toilet paper, and paper towels you can purchase. Costco in town had a sign posted they are out of all three. Hey, Debisu, all the way from Europe. Last night's lead headline on CBS News with Laura O'Donnell. The shutdown of America continues, blah, blah, blah. Hey, what's going on, Lynn? Nice to see you. There's Sandy. Hi, Sandy. Got a great group here today. It's great. It's great. It's good. It's good to have this. It's good to have community. It's good to be able to talk amongst one another as free, gentle men and ladies to exchange ideas in a way that are unfettered and free to the best of our ability for now. So, where do I start? Oh, before I get into the heavy stuff or these so-called heavy stuff, I want to show you. So I was watching. I'm gonna talk about the NBA here because the NBA is getting ready to make some significant moves when it comes to playing games. So I grabbed this. I was watching a game last night, and I grabbed this photo off of the set of TNT. You guys got to see this. This tells you everything you need to know about modern sports and the NBA in particular. Let me just pump this thing up here. I was like, I'm watching this thing. I'm watching the post game interview. Of course, Shaquille O'Neal, who is always prominently featured on the TNT set and crew, is a big time Mason. Big time Mason. So let me show you guys this. This is from the set of the of TNT, which is located in Atlanta, by the way. So the gentleman here is Dwayne Wade. This is Dwayne Wade, who is a very good player, very popular player. However, his name is a little confusing. It's spelled Dywayne, like Dwayne, but it's not Dwayne. But everybody calls it Dwayne. It's really not spelled that way. He has a son who plays at the same high school as LeBron James's kid, and I think he has two sons. One is gay. He's in high school, and his older son is gay, and I think he's got another kid who is thinking about transitioning, and it's like, okay, Dwayne, and he's I think he's married to Gabrielle Union. You'll see him. He does these commercials for Gatorade, I believe. But who's co-hosting on TNT? It's Baphomet. Baphomet. And then that's, of course, a badge right there. It's exactly what that is. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Of course, they're referencing the GOAT because they're very, very into this idea of the GOAT, whether it's Michael Jordan or whether it's Kobe Bryant or the current GOAT, Mr. LeBron Capricorn James. There it is, man. They are proudly and prominently displaying their God in the studios of TNT. I just thought I'd share that with you and give you an idea as to who's running things at a corporate level. I'm not surprised in the least. I put that up on Twitter last night. I was abusing myself on Twitter. Facebook, I'm going to be back on there soon. Oh, I thought that was a giraffe. Haven't had my coffee yet. Hey, Mary, good morning. Tessa, D-I-C-K in the house. YouTube was blocking me because my last name is a bad word. You mean Tessa Dick as in Philip K. Dick? That's ridiculous. With a D-I-C-K. Have the Mercola bidet love. Oh, bidets. That's interesting. Maybe we should look at investing in bidets. To hell with Zoom. Let's find out who's doing the bidets. Yes, he is in a lot of commercials. Absolutely. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? When people make bidet jokes, I'm like, clearly you benefit from its use. Bidets are highly underrated. Highly, highly underrated. Yeah, Tessa, we're here. We're here for you. We are here for you. We are part of the Dick fan club. Absolutely. We support Tessa Dick and all other dicks on the internet and YouTube. Please don't let them censor. Don't let them censor any dicks. Period. End of story. Dicks do have a place in our world. Maybe one could make a leap between the censoring of the word dick with an attempt to stamp out toxic masculinity. You know, I wonder if somebody changed Tessa. Maybe you should change your name to Tessa Phallus. That's actually kind of a cool name. It sounds like Valis in some ways, right? And I'm not making fun. Trust me, I'm not. I'm not making fun. But it's a thought. Just to see how the censors would. Eventually, they might catch up with the word phallus. You know, what's the limit here to thought speed? This is so fascinating that this is happening to you, because this is what Phil actually talked about, right? Isn't it ironic? It's so ironic that this phenomena of you being censored because of your name is a kind of a central premise of Phil's work in a lot of ways. It's just mind blowing, but not. Speaking of mind blowing, I'm going to play you the latest video of Joe Biden. And it's going to blow your mind. When I see this video, I was cruising Twitter last night. I had the trawler out on Twitter, and I was like trying to get into the Democratic mindset. And these people are, I'm sorry, these people are blind. They're blind. All they care about is defeating Trump. Like, if this cup was their nominee, they'd get behind the cup. We don't care. We just got to be united. We got to be a blue wave. You know, and then they've got this guy, James Carville, you know, the guy that dresses up in baseball caps and looks like Skeletor. Like, what's wrong with that guy? What is wrong with James Carville? This guy has been a bag of bones since he was working for the Clintons. You know, as people get older, they tend to put on weight. Not James Carville. Not James. What is he? What kind of diet is that guy on? It's blowing my mind. Anyway, let me just do this. I can do one thing here. I got to do one thing. All right, should be better. Here's what Carville said. In order to rally round our candidate, Joe Biden, we should just stop everything right now. Just stop everything right now. Just declare Biden the winner, even though they've got a bunch of other states that want to vote. And let's get on and look at November. People in the Democratic Party, these are the people that are making policy, that are essentially going to run your convention. And Biden is just a placeholder. That's all he is. He's nothing more than that. He's just a placeholder. But it gives you some idea as to what they're trying to do. So I follow Rob Reiner. I follow some of these people just because I want to see what they say. Oh, and Rob Reiner loving Joe Biden. He's a good man and a fair man, and he cares about the people. Did you see him almost get into a fight with a guy at the auto plant in Michigan? The guy's talking about guns, and Biden's spewing stuff about AR-14s. There's no such thing as an AR-14. And then he basically says to the guy says, "Look, you said you would take away the guns. It's on video. Like you're going to hire Beto O'Rourke to be your gun czar. Take away the guns." And Biden's like fighting him tooth and nail that that's not what he said. And then he threatens the guy. He curses at him. He threatens the guy, and then he wants to go outside and fight. I'm dumbfounded. I mean, we are living now in a complete and utter alternative reality. an alternative reality where Joe Biden has approached this senile version of Chauncey the gardener from being there, right? This is their being there candidate. Although Chauncey the gardener was at the very least somewhat conscious and aware, even if he was a simpleton. This support, this blind and utter support to rally around Joe Biden just to beat Trump is really troubling. It's very troubling because to me, it represents a clean break with reality in a lot of ways. It's really troubling. And even if Biden is just a placeholder, right? Even if he's just a placeholder, it still is troubling because now they're being completely disingenuous. They're being disingenuous with their base. And I am watching the Democratic Party just completely and utterly shatter, because they're trying to get the Bernie votes to Biden. And you think the Bernie people are going to vote for Biden? You think that's going to happen? No. You think the Bernie voters would vote for Hillary? You think that's going to happen? She screwed him last time. That's not going to happen. Man, talk about a house divided. I'm even watching people that are independent so fed up with the Democratic Party that they're going to vote for Trump, even though they can't stand Trump. We're watching something that is akin to a collective mental illness. Like Joe Biden is a symbol of the mental illness that has infected a certain portion of the population. There's no mistake. They're propping him up because he's a symbol. He's a personification of how ill a certain portion of our society is. There's no mistake there. Absolutely none. I'm not a big Tulsi Gabbard fan. I'm not. She's okay. I think she's got a bit of disingenuousness, but at least she's mostly real and speaks to things from a fairly real place. And they won't elect her. They won't nominate her. She's a woman, but they won't get behind that. It's like, come on, isn't this what you want? It's a woman candidate. Now, and then you've got Liz Warren, who basically says, well, they didn't vote for me because I'm a woman and they can't handle it. They can't handle a woman. And I've been discriminated against. This is what she's saying. The whole thing is just so bizarre. I'm going to show you, if you haven't seen the video, I'm going to show you this video right now. And this will, and I can't believe how people are, and again, I'm going to show you this guy here. This is what I'm exactly talking. I can't believe how people are trying to sort of parse this out. And I'll tell you what I mean by this. When you see this video, and some of you have probably seen the video, it is really troubling. It is really troubling. Here we go. I got to make sure that share the computer sound. We got that. Okay, check this out now. Here we go. If you haven't seen this, get ready to be absolutely and utterly shocked. Let me rewind this from the beginning. Turn it up. Let me sure I have the volume here. There it is. And away we go. This is in Michigan. And he's got his handlers around him. And he's coming out to greet reporters. Here we go.
Right temperament with voters that you don't agree with, sir.
Vice President, on the coronavirus, are both targeting you over this exchange this morning with a voter about guns. Any regrets about how you handled it?
Well, I'm surprised that Sanders is joining Trump. It just surprised me.
Wasn't it appropriate to swear at an American, though, especially a union voter?
I'm not sure what's worse in some ways. Joe Biden being completely and utterly confused, or the guy asking him the question, which triggers Biden's response, but doesn't have the presence of mind to follow it up and say, "What are you talking about, Sanders joining Trump? What do you mean by that?" No, he just goes on with his line of questioning about the union voter, the union worker, and blah, 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 blah. He's also endemic of the problem. He's not in the moment. He's not there. He's not thinking like, holy shit, what did he just say? What do you mean by that? No, he's just going to ask another question because, well, he's on that path, right? Here's Biden in terms of being completely out of touch with that moment. And that guy's like right there. He's not that far behind. I'm going to play it again. Here we go.
Right temperament with voters that you don't agree with, sir?
Vice President, on the coronavirus, they're both targeting you over this exchange this morning with a voter about guns. Any regrets about how you handled it?
Well, I'm surprised that Sanders is joining Trump. It's just surprising.
Was it appropriate to swear at an American, though, especially a union voter?
As an American and a union voter. It's like the dude can't even like be in the moment. Come on, man. Be in the moment. He just basically said Sanders is joining Trump. What does that mean? Now, again, when you go through, do you see that guy? Hold on. Let me show this. Let me do one more share. I'm not going to play it again because you guys get the message, but I'm just going to show you. Right, look at this guy. I'm not voting for Biden. In fact, this Indy will now vote for Trump, even though I hate him with every fiber of my being. I now hate the DNC with all of that plus one fiber. I joined the Dems to vote for Bernie. Now you get to lie in the bed of lies you made. Right? Bernie has not joined Trump, and it doesn't answer the question. I can't believe Biden would be so divisive and manipulative as to fabricate statements about his. That person's out of touch as well. They're thinking that Joe Biden is actually that manipulative and devious. They're out of touch too. But the guy cannot connect anything right now. Who knows what was going on in his head? And there are people who on Twitter talk about context. What's the context? You know, that video that I showed yesterday with Biden about reelecting Trump. It's like these people that are the Biden people, they complain because they say that the videos are manipulated. Oh my God, they're manipulated. Really? More than likely, you're the one that's manipulated. You can't even see the damn video for what it is. And this is a doddering old man. And shame on people like Rob Ryan, and shame on people like Robert Reich, and shame on people like whoever supports Joe Biden at this point. As I said before, they're basically trafficking in elder abuse. Even if he is a placeholder, even if they're doing it for the stinking party, it's just bad. And if I was a Democrat and I was a Bernie supporter, I would not be happy at all. And I'm glad I'm not. Now, what's going to happen? Well, in the backdrop of all this, we have coronavirus. And guess what's happening now with coronavirus? They're starting to shut things down. Italy shut down. Of course, we had Wuhan shut down. You know what's really interesting about China is that there was Wuhan, and then there was it Hubei, the other city? But what other parts of China were shut down? Did they shut down and quarantine Shanghai? How much did they shut down and quarantine Beijing? Seems like the focus of it all was mostly in Wuhan. Isn't that interesting? Yes, this is the place where people were protesting because the air there is so bad that the quality of their life and the quality of their lungs could probably not sustain a vaccination or an inoculation or a released virus in their presence. And the Chinese didn't like it. So they shut it down and people were being pulled off the streets, bolted in their apartments. Oh, and by the way, I'm sure that there are people in this country now who would applaud the Chinese efforts to just bolt people in their doors. Okay, so let's kind of see what's happening real time. Italy's shutting down. Poland is now shutting down. We've seen China shut down, part of China, not all of China, by the way, not all of China. We're starting to see this shutdown occur. Schools in this country, universities, I talked about this yesterday, universities are shutting down. Kids are not going to go. What are universities, by the way? They're the bastions of social Marxist theory. I guess Mike Pompeo is doing something now. They're the bastions of social Marxist theory. They are the re-education camps. They are the basically the centers for mind control of the left, which we've looked at and talked about ad nauseum. Oh, they're shutting down. Gee, I wonder who they're in bed with. Now there's talk that the NBA is going to start to play games in front of empty auditoriums. Isn't that interesting? And for these people, they're just, I mean, let's just play this out. So you're going to have players who are sweaty and bouncing up against one another and exchanging bodily fluids and things like that. And guess what? They travel in planes. There are flight crew who travel with people from other parts of the world. They stay in hotels where there are people from other parts of the world staying at the hotel, right? So theoretically, they could get some version of coronavirus. Does it really matter if like 1,000 people or 10,000 people are in the stands or not? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. You either, and again, this is not what I'm advocating, but you either stop the league and just shut it all down, or you let them play in front of the crowds. So I've pointed this out, and this one guy, it wasn't on Twitter, he basically said, know the facts. You know, the players aren't coughing, they don't have fevers. Well, why don't you know the facts? Because you can be asymptomatic and spread the virus. You can spread it. Bottom line, you don't have to be testing positive to spread the virus. It's just utterly absurd. Utterly absurd. But this is what we're going to be staring down now. So now I want to get into this idea of the theater of the mind and projection and mindset. Oh, before I do, I do want to take one more kind of final wave and goodbye at Bernie Sanders. And I said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll tell you who completely backed me up and said the exact same thing last night on his show, Tucker Carlson. I called Bernie Sanders a beautiful loser because that's what he does best. He loses. He's accustomed to losing. He's accustomed to taking one for the team. He's accustomed to taking one for the party. Not at one point did Sanders ever come out and take on the DNC and the establishment. And Tucker said the exact same thing last night that I've been saying. He got the process snatched from him, stolen from him 4 years ago. And did Bernie Sanders learn? Did he learn anything? Did his resolve get better? Was he tougher? The answer to that is unequivocally no. He didn't learn a goddamn thing. He didn't get tougher. And people who support Bernie Sanders, you know, the whomevers of the world, the Young Turks or the Michael Moores or whoever supported Bernie Sanders. Who's the other guy? Jimmy Dore, although I know he likes Tulsi Gabbard. He really likes Tulsi Gabbard. I think that you deserve better. And Tucker said Bernie is the worst revolutionary that he's ever seen. You would think that somebody that has the revolutionary blood pumping through their veins would see their revolution around to the very last fucking Molotov cocktail. And what does Sanders do? He just whimpers. I'll support Joe. If somebody asked him, well, what happens if the Democratic Party and the votes go this way, and Biden's got the votes? Will you support Biden and the party? Absolutely. Yeah, Bernie, you're a good robot. You see, that's what socialism produces. Good robots. He's a good robot. And he's not even a beautiful loser. And if I was a Bernie Sanders person, man, I'd be so pissed. I'd be more pissed at myself, though, because that's what people don't go that far, right? They just don't go that far. So now the Biden people are trying to court the Bernie voters. Oh, we can't be too hard on the Bernie people. We need their votes. You burned the Bernie people, and you're not going to get them back. You screwed that up. This is something that is just mind-blowing in epic proportion. So what's happening now? They're going to shut Biden down. They're going to shut him down. I think Bernie's probably going to throw in the towel either today or tomorrow because he got his ass kicked, and who knows whether or not the exit polls were the actual polls were rigged. I don't know. I don't really care. It's not my concern, because the DNC is the epitome of corruption. And it's so fascinating because they talk about how corrupt Trump is and how corrupt the Republicans are. That party, the Democratic National Committee, that party is a machine that is oil and lubricated with corruption and filth. And I'm not saying that the right is immune to that. That's not true. That's not the case. They have their own version of it. But if you can't see it, if it doesn't turn you off and you're just going to vote blue just because you hate Trump, Joe Biden's your perfect candidate, because really he is a personification and a symbol of your mindset. Think about that. Just think about that for a moment. Maybe you can't. Maybe the image and the realization of that is so horrific that it would cause you to shatter at a genetic level, split your brain right in two, in which case the coronavirus and the coming quarantines might actually be very salutary for you, and that you might be able to just chill out and try to get your mind together, get your shit together. Better get a lot of toilet paper first. So things are they're going to shut down. I tell you that right now. You're going to see teams in the NBA play in front of empty stands. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that, what that means symbolically. It is not a good look. It is not a good move. So they're going to shut Biden down. They're not going to have Biden debate Trump. And Trump will be chomping at the bit if he's still around, because Trump is fighting for his life now, and I'll tell you why. And there better be some 5D chess involved at this point, because these people on the left, they're pushing all in. They're pushing all their chips in. The globalists are pushing all their chips in right now, and they're going to shut things down. They don't want any exposure to Joe Biden. Period. End of story. They're going to keep him on ice until the DNC National Convention, which probably, if they have their druthers, won't happen. It won't happen. You know why it won't happen? Because they don't want a bunch of angry people showing up. They don't want a bunch of Bernie bros or Antifa or whomever going to Milwaukee and burning that place down. They don't want that. It'll be a bad look for the party. So what do they want to do? They want to control everything. They want to control Biden's narrative. They want to control the social narrative, everything. I seriously doubt that convention will take place. Seriously. I'd be very surprised if it does. And if it does, there won't be any people there. They'll just have the delegates, and they'll have everybody dressed in hazmat suits with their little signs from the states that they're from. The idea here is to shut things down. It is what we're witnessing now. And let me be clear. I do think there is a quote unquote coronavirus. And I do think that there is a very virulent strain. And then there's a not so virulent strain that people get and it's making them really sick. I mean, I think I had a version of it back in November. Now, that said, I still think you should take care of yourself. Like, I was really sick in November. And I had symptoms that I had never had all together in one package before. Okay. So I do think that there is a there, but I don't think the there is the same there that people are now projecting out to be this absolutely bloody, apocalyptic plague. I'm starting to see this now. It's starting to coalesce. That's what's happening. So they want to shut stuff down. This is the thermonuclear switch. This is the kill switch for Trump and the Trump administration. This is exactly what it is. I mean, if you look at sort of what's going on, what are the states that are involved in the highest rates of so-called coronavirus and spreading and emergencies? Washington, Oregon, and California. These are all the bastions of liberal, progressive leftism, right? What happened yesterday? The governor of New York, Mr. Cuomo, said that he was going to send the National Guard into New Rochelle to deliver food and make sure people are safe. But not all of New Rochelle, only like 1 square mile of New Rochelle. And New Rochelle is a super, it's like one percenters. New Rochelle is one percenters. I wonder if Dick Van Dyke still lives. Who was Dick Van Dyke's son in that show? Richie? Was that the kid's name? Richie? You notice Dick Van Dyke only had one kid, by the way. Just Richie. That's it. Not more than one kid. And who is Dick Van Dyke's wife? Mary Tyler Moore. And what is Mary Tyler Moore known for? The Mary Tyler Moore Show, where she was a successful, independent career woman who was a producer on a newscast out of Minneapolis, where the anchor was adult, played by Ted Knight. Right? You know what's really interesting about those MTM productions? Mary Tyler Moore Productions. I believe, who was her husband? Was Grant Tinker her husband? If you look at all those characters, like Mary and Cloris and Rhoda and Rhoda's sister, I forget her, whatever the sister's name was. None of them have any kids. They don't have any kids. There's no kids in those shows. Maybe Cloris had a kid. I don't know. I don't remember Cloris having a kid. Rhoda certainly didn't have a kid. Rhoda's sister didn't have a kid. Mary didn't have a kid. Did Cloris have a kid? No. I don't remember anybody having kids in that show. Did Murray have a kid? Did Ted have a kid? Who's his girlfriend's name? Georgette? Did she have a kid? What about Lou Grant? Did Lou Grant have kids? There are no kids on that show. Gee, I wonder what the message is there. So Dick Van Dyke, the nuclear family from New Rochelle, has one kid. Talk about programming. So New Rochelle, there's this 1 square mile area that is not the one percenters, apparently. That one area that they're going to cordon off and send the National Guard in, guess what? They're the kind of the lower income, the Section 8 housing that they've set aside in New Rochelle. That's the area that the National Guard is going to go in and administer to. Why is that? because they're using that as a test. They're gathering data. They're gathering information as to how an inner city environment in a very controlled area, right? This is really specific. They're not going to go into, I don't know, let's say Gary, Indiana. They're not going to go there. They're not going to go into East St. Louis and send in the National Guard and try to, figure out how people are going to react in that environment. No, it's a very controlled square mile. Like it's inside of this larger community where the 1%ers are not going to be affected at all. So this is Governor Cuomo, who happens to be a liberal governor who's more than willing to sign off on absolutely atrocious abortion bills. Okay, this is who now is participating at a National Guard level. All right, so now we're starting to see the picture. Now it's starting to emerge. You see, we begin to put all this stuff together. We begin to see what's happening with universities, schools. Now we're seeing a governor get involved, and a very typical or very particular kind of governor. So we're watching the thermonuclear kill switch that is in place now for Trump, because they couldn't get him on Russiagate. They couldn't get him on impeachment. Now they're going to get him, or try to get him, by bringing the entire country to a standstill. And not just the country, by the way, but the world. They're bringing the world to a standstill. So now we're talking about international and global collusion at this point. And that's not to say, again, we're in uncharted territory. What's to prevent them from releasing another virus, right? That's quite possible. And then we'd have to deal with that. And now people are getting sick from something else. I mean, so we're in uncharted territory, but I can tell you that this is their goal now. When JFK was assassinated, and he was assassinated, there was, if he did not get killed and was shot in that moment at the end, there was actually a plan to blow the car up. Like, he was not going to make it out of Dealey Plaza. That was their version of the thermonuclear kill switch. Okay, so Trump, metaphorically speaking, has dodged two major sniper bullets, and now they just hit the thermonuclear kill switch. That's where we're at. And of course, the hue and cry is that, this is Trump's Waterloo. It's going to be very interesting to see what Trump does now. Very interesting, because we're at next level shit. We're at next level stuff. And if he has any real 5-dimensional time travel chess skills at hand, this is probably going to be the time where they're going to have to be played out. Because what's happening is a very concerted effort. And it really does begin to feel like China is behind this at some level. I'm not saying they're the only agency behind this, but it really feels that way, right? Really, because now China's being applauded. Oh, look at their response. Oh, aren't they proactive? Oh, the numbers are going down. Oh, let's be like China. It's so utterly predictable. We can see it now. We've got enough intel. We've got enough analytical data. We have enough moving pieces on the chessboard. Again, I was online last night, and there was a guy on a basketball message board, and they were talking about how Joe Lacob, who's the owner of the Warriors, has basically stuck his middle finger out to the city of San Francisco. And I'm no Joe Lacob fan. I'm just not. But he basically said, you know what? Thanks, city of San Francisco. Unless the NBA tells me I'm not going to have my players play in front of fans, I'm going to do it. So this guy from Italy chimes in and begins to talk about how bad this thing is and how they didn't catch it immediately and this and that and this and that and this and that. And I said, okay. Well, I asked him, said, do you know anybody that has a coronavirus? And what are the symptoms there? He didn't say that he knew anybody that had the coronavirus, by the way, which, maybe he's in a different part of Italy. Who knows? But then he got into the symptoms and looked at the symptoms like, geez, I'm not sure I'd shut down a country for that right now. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. It was like, really? These are the symptoms? And I think people are really sick. I think whatever this thing is, it's a flu on steroids and probably 2 strains of corona. But I say that the more deadly and virulent factor in all of this is the mind parasites that are now infesting and invading people in their consciousness. And like I said, I do believe you need to take care of yourself. I had Glenn Streeter on 2 weeks ago. And actually, shit, when did I have Glenn on? Was it last week? 2 weeks ago. We had the Crimmies on last week. And Glenn and I talk regularly. So I'm always getting kind of updated on the medical stuff and what he's hearing. And, he had some really good stuff to say. Like, you want to have these things in your possession no matter what. You want to be healthy no matter what. You want to take care of your personal, mental, emotional, and spiritual immunity no matter what. It's important. Like, take care of that. That's baseline stuff, right? Baseline. But we're headed into a different territory now. And it's beyond personal health and wellness. So let's get back to the NBA for just a second. And this is the theater of the mind. This is something that I think is really important and I think quite powerful, actually. What happens if we see players playing in front of empty stands? What happens if we see images of universities that are empty and kids doing telecourses? What happens if we see events like St. Patrick's Day parades empty? The green floats going down the street, no longer there. What happens if we see things like Little League games canceled? And the camera pans to baseball fields where youth and parents congregate when springtime comes around, and there's absolutely no games, no congregations. What happens when we see images of shelves that are wiped out in places like Costco, in Walmart, in Target, and now even the local H-E-B? The mind begins to make pictures. The mind begins to take on a mindset that this is the end of the world, that we are living in a post-mortem reality, that they are creating this simulacra of an apocalyptic scenario. And people will look at that and they'll bring that in, right? And we know how this works. We know how this works. It's all about imaging, visualization, imprinting, programming, mindset. Welcome to the dystopian version of 2020. Whether you like it or not, this is the reality that is being unspooled for you. And I, for one, am kind of sick of it, to be quite honest. I'm sick of reality being manipulated at this level. And again, I'm not saying that you should not take precautions. You absolutely should. Absolutely should. Take care of your house. But above and beyond that, when I begin to see the chess pieces being moved into place, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. They're creating a dystopian theater. that doesn't even really exist. Think about that for a moment. This is one great big fucking movie. Doesn't mean that, again, in the midst of the movie, they could, drop another bug or two. It's not impossible. But we're living in a time now here in the Northern Hemisphere where we're going to theoretically see the return of the sun, which means people will be outside more, that there'll be more vitamin D, more ultraviolet light. But what do they want to do? They want to keep people inside so that they don't get the vitamin D, they don't get the ultraviolet light, they don't allow people to go out and actually naturally cleanse whatever is going on in their body. Now, what's also fascinating for me is I got a text last night that Aspen has 14 people from Australia that they've holed up and quarantined at one of their resorts. It's interesting because the Crown family is very influential in Aspen. Of course, Crown is Corona. And Aspen is also where the Aspen Institute is, which is a hardcore progressive leftist liberal think tank, which is being guided by Walter Isaacson at this point in time. So Aspen's, it's a bastion. But now Aspen's got 13, 14 people locked down. And apparently they've tested positive for Corona. How are they getting the tests? Right? If these kits are not available, if they're hard to come by, how are they getting the tests? And the CDC has said, well, we're not going to test you if you're not showing any symptoms. Well, is everybody in that party showing symptoms? These are all questions that we need to really be asking ourselves. Are we dealing with a virus, and a virus that could be highly contagious, in certain aspects, just like a flu on steroids, like bad steroids? I would say the answer to that is yes. Yeah, absolutely. But now here comes the social engineering piece that comes into play. And this is the one thing that probably most likely will be sort of the most potentially deadly. Certainly, it is the psychic reality that will keep us caged in and locked in our own fear, in the bondage of our own thoughts, and in cells of our own making. This is going to be a very interesting time to be alive and be in this country. So one of the things that's going to be really important is your mindset. You got to have a good mindset. You're going to have a mindset that's going to see you through this. And that's just something you have to cultivate. You got to cultivate the mindset, which means you have to be rigorous. You have to be rigorous, and you have to sharpen your mindset like a knife that's sharpened on a sharpening stone every day, because you're going to have to cut through this bullshit. And it's going to be very interesting to see if they go like code red on this and they start implementing so-called mass quarantines, medical martial law. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because Americans are not used to this. Like this is still a culture that won't give up its cars. And when so-called freedoms are impinged upon, like going to the mall or going to the movies or going to the softball game or going to the bowling alley or whatever these things are, it's going to be interesting to see how these so-called Americans will actually react and respond. Because I don't think, even if we are kind of at times mindless cattle, as we witness what's happening with the Democratic National Committee and the falling behind, candidate Gardner, that's not too much of a stretch to say that there are people that like to be herded. They like to be herded. That's their nature. They want to be herded. There are other people who don't want to be herded. And they're not real interested in having those people around. I can tell you that right now. Right? So you got to cultivate your mindset. What does that mean? Well, there are certain things that you can practice. Number one, meditation and really centering and breathing and watching reality unfold. Very interesting. It's a very good practice. Very good practice. Number two, you need a sense of humor. You've got to laugh at things. That's really important. Really important. If you don't have a sense of humor, you don't have a sense of irony, you're screwed. And that's what I've noticed, like on the so-called left, they don't have a sense of humor. Jimmy Dore's got a good sense of humor, but that's gone now. He can't even post a YouTube video. He's so shattered. He's so shattered about the whole process. He can't even post a YouTube video. He hasn't posted YouTube videos in weeks because his beloved system and his beloved party is crumbling before his very eyes. And I think he's a funny guy. And he's a smart guy, but he needs to wake the fuck up. Just like a lot of these other people who pin their hopes on, these plutocratic puppets that somehow are going to represent them. At the very least, Trump is diabolically disruptive. And at that level, I can buy in. Humor, meditation, mindfulness, prayer, and do not be cut off from contact. This is the most important thing. You've got to stay connected to people, even physically. Meet with your friends, go over to your friend's house, play board games. If anything, we should lean into this thing in a different kind of way. And instead of less contact, we should actually be more social where it counts. Because this is an asymmetric response to the reality that's being cultivated and shaped and crafted and mutated before our very eyes. Do not lose touch with people. Very important. Don't become isolated. Don't become a cave dweller. Leave that to me. That's my specialty. All right. Let me check in with you guys and see where you're at. See what's going on in Chatlandia. I've been kind of yapping here for a little bit. Let's see. Uncle Glenn, yep, going out today to get a feel on how the public is buying all the hype. What really matters. Yes. And bring your bidets. The portable bidet. Hello, Ronald. Nice to see you here inside. Kelly from Vegas. I got a job as a bartender. Very social. Good for you, Kelly. Spread your wellness everywhere. Let's see what else we have here. Asked if anyone knew what happened to them. I said they ascended out of this earth. I don't think he liked that. Let's see what do we have here. Second time I was in Sedona with my wife, Judy, back in 2007. We were on a pink Jeep tour. Oh, yes, I know those tours. Choose not to feed the parasites. Fear is a tasty snack for them. Maybe comparable to spicy Mexican food. Quite possibly. What else do we have here? Let's see. Like in a lucid dream where you manifest instantly, mastering thoughts so critical in the astral. Yep. Uncle Glenn says, I watch the MSM news every night to keep an eye on the CVBS. I cannot believe how hard and fast they're pushing the pandemic agenda. You got that right. It's now, the pieces are now being put into place. I think the sky people are as much of a mixed bag as humans are. I wouldn't trust the sky people. Also, good to remember, death is an illusion. My favorite Japanese death poem. Had I not realized that I was dead already, I would have mourned my passing. Chris and Steve bringing the classical references there. People have been conditioned to keep their mouths shut from Holocaust, Sandy, etc. Most are going along with the MS narrative. Well, Steve, that is a cue for me to tell a story. That is a cue for me to tell a story. Here we go. I had a meeting. I had a meeting with a lawyer on Monday to discuss some, how shall we say, legal matters. And I was looking for some representation. So I was giving this lawyer some background as to who I am and what I do, and some of the things that I talk about and discuss on these streams, these flames. And one of the things that I talked about was my position on vaccines, amongst a few other things. And by the way, this is a college-educated guy, loves his kids, was a Boy Scoutmaster, high level. He told me some interesting shit too. Maybe I'll pass that along as well. Little tidbit, little info, and especially around conditioning. Okay. So then he asks me, and I said, oh yeah, and I talk about things like chemtrails. He said, what's that? And I'm like, oh shit. Okay, you know those things in the sky, those lines in the sky? You ever see those lines in the sky? Also known as geoengineering. No, I'm not familiar with that. Well, look it up. It might change your world. I don't know. I can't speak for you. I said that too, by the way. So then he asked me, do you think Sandy Hook didn't happen? And I said, I have serious misgivings about the official narrative. And as we continue to go through this consultation, he basically says that he wouldn't be the best person to represent me because he feels very strongly about vaccinations and very strongly about the quote unquote Sandy Hook thing. I'm like, okay, I appreciate your honesty. Thanks for being upfront, you know. But this is sort of what we're dealing with here in terms of the mindset. So then we talked about BSA, Boy Scouts of America. We talked about that. And this individual essentially said that there's these lawsuits going on now, just like the Catholic Church. And some of these lawsuits are going all the way back to the late 40s and in the early 50s, where people said that they were molested and abused in the BSA. So they have a new rule now, apparently, where if you are a scoutmaster, you cannot be alone with a scout on your own. You can't. You have to have another adult with you unless it's a group situation. That is the rule now. This is now how they're getting around because now they got to have a witness, right? Well, he didn't do anything untowards this boy. And this is what this guy told me. He told me that when he goes into a bathroom and there is a teen or a young man in the bathroom, he gets triggered because he's now conditioned to not be in an environment like that one-on-one. Think about that now. This is the programming. This is what's happening. And it blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. I'm like, wow. Somebody's college educated, deals in the matters of the mind, logic, fact-based, evidentiary. and he can't even really take a public piss. This is the world we're living in now. Talk about mindset. All right, let me check in with you guys before I get on out of here. Say a few good words. I don't know if you'd want a lawyer anyways. Anyone who hires a lawyer, demonstrate. Look, you have no idea what you're talking about, Lisa. So please, you have no idea what you're talking about. I appreciate your sentiment and your commentary, but you have no idea what you're talking about. So thank you for your insight. I don't mean to alienate you. It's not my intention. Okay? Just not my intention. Glad I followed my intuition with those clubs for boys. Boys didn't like it for my son. Yeah, there you go. Good. Great live stream of high consciousness today. Or thanks, Chris and Steve. These rules are being brought in by insurance companies and also applied attorney. It's all good. I tell you right now, I do not like lawyers. I'm sorry if there's a lawyer that's listening to my stream. I'm not a big fan of lawyers. Every lawyer I've encountered in this process has been highly disappointing. Highly disappointing. And, I'm looking into kind of asymmetric models from here on out. I'm done. I'm just done. Every kind of cliche that I can think of around lawyers, I kind of experienced over the past year. And it actually makes my stomach turn. Yep, absolutely. Someone I knew watched Tulsi Gabbard and a group of her lady friends nearly hit a dog sledder as they were leaving a bar in northern Minnesota a couple years ago, all sloppy drunk, including the driver. That's quite interesting. There are times when I see Tulsi and she just looks like she's controlled. She's got that really kind of tranced out, controlled vibe to her. But Tucker Carlson loves her. All right, let's wrap it up today. Thank you for being a part of today's Flame and live stream. If you like the show, if you like the program, not the programming, the content, if you like the content, you can always subscribe and support the show. And I know a lot of you have, and thank you. Blessings unto you. We're working on ramping up the level and quality of the content. God bless Steve Mercer. He's jumped on board, and we're booking guests now for the Friday show. So you're going to get a steady stream of high quality guests and really constellated around the type of content that is going to be meaningful and important for you and me and the rest of us so that we can navigate through this time that we're in. Okay. And as far as the current time and the present model and the present moment, levity is a great antidote to gravity. So don't just step back. I'm very good at stepping back and having an ironic and kind of paradoxical relationship with my own reality at times. I find great humor in it in many instances. You can do the same thing. And don't lose contact with people. Don't lose contact with the people that you love. Lean into where we are now and do your best to be as providentially social and connected as possible, because this is now the program now to disconnect and to fragment us. Stand in the face of it. Stand in the face of it. Hug the people you love. Hey, why not? Sleep with the people you love too. That's really important as well. I highly recommend that. All right. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to step on what's possible. Thank you for being here today. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully around 8:45 Central Standard Time. Friday, Alex Kazemi, he'll be on the Friday Farcast, Pop Magic, and his dive into the esoteric and occult lifestyles, strategies, and technologies of Hollywood and the people that are in front of the camera and behind the scenes. Until tomorrow, take good care of yourself. This is Robert Phoenix. You've been watching 15 Minutes of Flame.